my name is Carly. My pronouns are they, them. I'm an indie author who also runs their own indie imprint. Welcome to my writing vlog. If you go down to the description, you find links to all my other platforms, as well as a newsletter sign up. If you sign up, you'll receive the first volume of my fantasy series that is going to be completed this year as a sign up gift for free. So yeah, um, it's the start of another week. I'm in chapter 23 of a first draft I'm working on called Dragon Watch. And I'm also on some of projects, I'm in different stages. One of the projects that I want to work on this week is I need to get back into typing a science fiction project that I'm working on with a friend. I write all of my first drafts in longhand, which I know you don't need to tell me is not the most efficient method, but it works for me. And we start off this vlog with a bit of I don't know, is it a public service announcement? I know that this is coming off really petty. I recently went to my local library and got really excited when I saw lots of books I had heard about, books I had put on my list to check out. And one of them is Once Was Willem, a sort of medieval, dark, fantasy-esque book, but with a very specific time setting in 12th century England during the anarchy when Stephen and Matilda basically battled it out for the throne. So very, very specific. I mentioned it before, one of my special interest areas is food history. And I was really excited to find this book because it's really new, and also because I had heard really good things about it, and it has been blurred by some really amazing authors. And to my shock, started on page 16. And to be honest, I had already struggled to find my way into the book. There might have been like layout related, or because it's for, I don't know. I don't know why it should be. I think just it's not that I dislike the style. It was just a bit complicated to get into. And then on page 16, the word marrow is mentioned as a description of someone with big muscles, like marrows in a back or something. So that doesn't really make sense because it's actually also like it portrays itself as a book written by someone living at a time. It's not like an omniscient narrator who tells you the story, and he's very clearly, or they are very clearly set in our times. No, it's supposed to be a manuscript by Willem. And then 2 pages later, that already put me on my guard. Like, okay, I'm not quite, I'm going to give you the benefit of the doubt. And then on page 18, the word potatoes was mentioned. And it's something that I've termed the potato problem. And it happens so much more than you think it needed to do. So if it's in a fantasy novel that is like your own world, whatever, I would never presume to say anything. Because hey, Lord of the Rings, potatoes, we know it. But if you're writing a book in a very specific time period, food is one of the main columns of your world building. You need to at least, I don't care if it's something very obscure. That's not even what I'm talking about. But potatoes is food history 101. It's like, no. It's also like I've seen people setting their books in medieval England and there's tobacco. That doesn't work. Tomatoes doesn't work. I'm sorry, but you need. I know this is my special interest. I know I'm getting riled up about it. And it's a tiny thing. But if you're telling me on page 18 of a 300-page novel that you didn't do at least the research into the most basic of, oh, when did certain things come to the country? I'm not going to trust you. And I think that's the thing. I was looking forward to this book. As I said, I've seen really good reviews online, but this made me DNF the book. And that's petty. And I'm agreeing there. I know it's petty, but it brings me to something where that I just feel strongly about as a writer who sets their world predominantly in a medievalish, Renaissance-y time. So I have books that are set like early medieval and Renaissance, and my inspiration for that comes from so many books that I've read, non-fiction books, so many documentaries that I've seen. There are brilliant documentaries on this kind of thing. Um, and I think it's due diligence. This is a, if we stick to Once Was Willem, this is a traditionally published book by a very successful, very established author. Maybe someone, maybe they just trusted them too much, or I don't know what happened. But this is something where I think authors like me, we have some sort of responsibility if we want to portray a very specific period. And for world building purposes, food is such an, as I mentioned, such an important part of it. So maybe, yeah, maybe it is a public service announcement. Just readers notice stuff like this. I notice stuff like this because it's one of my things. So when I was building my worlds for the Slow Moon series in specific, I made very clear choices what kind of food was available on each continent. So it's basically a story that tells, a- yeah, that tells about people from different cultures coming together, exchanging ideas. Obviously, there's conflict as well, and everyone is the richer for it. That's the very basic outline. But one of the things that is very clear to me was trade and how that affects what's available to eat and in which directions do the trade routes go. And that makes it really nice to explore a new food culture with a character that comes to a different city, and then it's so he's bombarded, they are bombarded, she's bombarded with new tastes, new experiences. And I think these kind of things are important. And the everyday life is as important as facts about kings and queens. So even though I'm always saying I'm not giving writing tips, maybe world building tips, maybe. No, I can just tell you how I'm doing it. So I am really interested in everyday culture. One of the most incredible resources I always found was Lucy Worsley's If Walls Could Talk documentary series, and there's also a book about it, where she basically goes through the history of the most important rooms in a house. I always think food is important, how people sleep is important, clothes are important, the bathroom is important, what options were there. So these kind of things make a world, to my mind, so much more vivid because you can actually imagine being there. It is an experience that goes through the body, not just through the head. And when I was doing my recent pass through the Sun and Flame duology, I noticed that there's a lot, especially in the point of view of the female main character, about the oh yeah, the uncomfortableness of being in your body in this world. Because when you're on horseback for a whole day, what happens? You get sore. If you need to pee, how does that work? And yeah, the whole process of living out in the open and being weighed down with lots of clothes. And I think it's a short, it's an earned shortcut to immersing your reader. And I actually, one of the reasons why I'm thinking about this as well is I always thought I was very cerebral. If you're in a body like mine, you do your utmost to escape this experience because the world at large is not very nice to you about it. But actually, my writing is a lot about the experience of being in a body. Slow, the main character of my Slow Moon series, is in a bigger body. They call themselves fat, which I think has made many people very hesitant to pick up the book because it's sort of a word that makes it a difficult book to sell. And I made the decision to put the word fat in the synopsis. And the decision not to use a euphemism for what this character calls himself, I think has been a drawback. But it was also important to me to signal that this description is exactly how they see themselves, and it's not a bad thing. They get called fat all the time in the book, but they just don't take it as a criticism because it's just a valid descriptor of what they are. And there are a couple of fat characters. One of my um, objectives was not to have a character of sort of one identity token character. So in the first book alone, there are 4 non-binary characters, for example. So yeah, all of this to say, bodily experiences like eating, like sleeping, like, oh my God, I have horrendous blisters from walking. I mean, just the poor hobbits in the Fellowship of the Ring, they must have been shattered every single day. Yeah, that's important. So I think it was just such a letdown to find. I mean, also, maybe I'm just disappointed in myself that this was something small but mighty that I just couldn't get over it. Maybe also because it's happened so much already. So there, for example, there was a Beowulf retelling where definitely potatoes have no business being near. And I finished the book because by the point that Lex came up, I was already quite invested in the story. So I just, okay, I'm finishing it. But here, that basically is for me such a signifier of neglect almost that I was just, okay, we're not doing that. So this was a bit of a disappointing experience. So I've basically moved on to the next book. I might pick it up at some further point. I mean, this is very shout, and I'm sure there will be a feedback on it if I hear stuff that basically tells me, "Oh, just get over yourself. Just read it and enjoy it." I might give it another try, but for now, I'm sticking to my guns. Okay, that's usually not the vibe that I want to give off, but we're very complex people. Humans are complicated. And obviously, this is one of my complications because I'm ranting to you about it. Ah, yeah, definitely do your due diligence for your story. Okay, see you in a bit. It's Wednesday, and this means all day. I went to the market. Unfortunately, they didn't have any flowers that really spoke to me today, and the last bunch of flowers are still sort of going. I need to put them into some fresh water, but apart from that, I think I can just shorten them and just keep them for another few days at least. So I didn't buy any flowers today as a caveat today. So yes, sprout of the day is broccoli because I really like those, and they're not that amazing taste wise when they're raw, but I really like them just sprinkled on top of stuff. And this batch looked really good, so eh, so yeah, broccoli today. Then some more baby leaf salad. They didn't have any lamb's lettuce today, so I went for this. Some ginger because I'm making the kombucha slash. I don't know actually if it's kombucha because it doesn't look like it. I did a bit more research and it looks more like a kefir culture. So maybe it's just I don't know what it is, but it tastes quite nice. And lemon and ginger is definitely the way for me to go. So two little cucumbers again for salad. Then some potatoes because that's the theme of this installment, and also because they looked really good, so just bought some. Some green gauges. They tend to be quite a seasonal thing here, but I really love them, especially the small one. I think they need to ripen a few more days, but they were on offer today. So yeah, so they're like little green plums, and I really love them. Then samosas, because the stand is amazing and I would like to support them. And there also was a jewelry stand there, and I bought some sort of crystally earrings in sort of orangey colors because um, orangey is sort of one of my favorites, orange and blue. But although I'm thinking I'm going a bit into a turquoise phase at the moment, it's always, I don't know if I'm the only one who goes through such color phases. Um, One of the reasons I think why I could never just get rid of half of my wardrobe, because there will come a time when I'm wearing purple again. So yeah, can't do that. So, and um, on a separate note, the banner that I ordered for the stand has arrived a full week early, which is amazing. I mean, I totally understand why they give sort of a later date, not to get your hopes up, but it actually arrived in time for my event this weekend, which I'm beyond thrilled. And when I came home, I got another package, and I promise you, at least one or two installments ago, that when the first proper finalized copy of volume 6 in the Slow Moon series arrives, I will show it to you. So yeah, that's it. And something with cover has got. This is why you order one to start with, and you can see something has slipped. So I have to look at those files again, just make sure that everything's lined up. It might be that this is just like a one-off thing. If the file looks okay, I will then order a new copy and have another look at those. But yeah, this is why you never approve the proof and then you order sort of 10 copies all at once. You order one copy to see that everything has indeed is lining up. And something I might not have seen on the proofs as well. There's sort of a thin blue line that I need to check. So yeah, apart from that, it looks good. So yeah, interior. And I also really love that the colors of the final one are so different from the other ones. So yeah, the first proper copy with some stuff to fix, which is actually the first time that has happened, that something has slipped so much, which why I'm thinking that something is not quite right with the file. So yeah, need to look at that again. But apart from that, I'm happy. So that's going to be the display copy, I think, for people to have a look through. You can always use copies with like slightly, or just my reading copy for, I don't know, if I want to read something from it. Um, Apart from that, I have been spinning a lot. Um, this is some Shetland that I dyed turquoise, and I think it looks, I mean, it matches. This is why I'm thinking of going into a turquoise face again. Um, so that is really good. Then I I spun up all the blue greenish stuff, and I think I'm going to apply it with some grey that I found earlier. I did that for a scarf that I then gifted a friend, and it came out really beautifully. So basically, the grey will give it a unity, and then you have the color changes from the variated yarn waving through. So it's a bit more muted, but it's no less beautiful. So I think that's what I'm going to do. So basically, I'm trying to get another bunch of stuff together that I can take with me to the market just in case. I mean, I still have quite a lot of stock, but I'm going back into production now. Um, so yeah, spinning. I have everything in the car apart from the spinning wheels and my little suitcase with all the technical stuff, the card reader and the power bank and everything. I can never go through the back without a power bank. So yeah, so I need to collect those bits. Also important stuff for markets, sunscreen, because you never know, even though it's quite cool at the moment. Wood glue in case something happens to either my folding chairs or the spinning wheels, and WD-40 for the spinning wheels, especially if you're on damp grass or anything. This is a must. And I think I'm running a bit low, so after next week, I definitely need to buy another one. But yeah, this is like crucial equipment. So I've put them aside to take with me as well, though I probably need to oil um, the wheel that I'm using most a bit as well. So I've done a few rounds of oiling, but because I haven't used it for a few months, really, it's slow to get started. It's getting better, but they're machines, yes, but they're wooden machines, so they're a bit more temperamental. As I said, damp. They hate dampness. Um, so that's definitely something you need to be careful with. And then also, because on the markets there can be on uneven ground. One of my spinning wheels has a really handy knob where you can sort of winch it up a bit, so you can, if it's wobbly, you can stabilize it. The other one hasn't. Um, that's all the technical considerations involved in doing a market. But apart from that, I think I'm in a good position. And yeah, that's it for today. Actually, that's not it for today. Didn't even talk about what I did for writing. I'm in chapter 24 now, and I think I'm at the crucial stage where the relationship that begins to develop is getting into the critical phase where Vic starts to realize that they might be in love, they might have all these feelings, but they're not entitled to get them returned. So it's, I think, a really interesting point. I think that was exactly where I wanted to go. And I don't know whether I'm doing like like a bombers drop thing. I don't think. I think it's sort of a slow realization that, yes, they might say they're fine, but they're not really fine, as the meme goes. Um, and can they handle it? Can they not handle it? There is like a weird, unclear situation where how the power is put across. So basically, the problem is problem that Wicht loves someone who technically is his superior, but because he's not, or the wanting is from Wicht's point of view, so from his standpoint. And I've tried to take the power balance a bit out of it, so to make sure that it's not there is a certain hierarchy, but it's actually not that clear cut, because technically there there's some, for some administrative reason, they're not actually in that relationship officially. That's what like I'm trying to dance around what actually happens. But yeah, like the power, that's where in a really interesting bit where the power balance is not quite clear cut, and the desire politics are much more clear cut, but also quite complicated, because now I'm I'm really thinking that I'm bringing in a third person. I I've had a good look at myself, if debating whether I think there's going to be one or two scenes that could be called spicy, but with my usual very complicated twist. It's not straightforward at all. Never is. Um, yeah, I think that's probably what's going to happen. But it's strange how much, being in the last pages of a notebook, I have now like 20 pages left, and now everything's balanced when you're in the middle, and like the two parts of the notebooks are roughly of the same size. But now when you're coming to the end, even the bodily act of writing is different. And yeah, it would be really interesting to see, or to study it, how that affects the action, the activity of writing, like just the circumstances, the actual circumstances. I don't know. I mean, I'm again spitballing and using you as my victims. So, all in all, what I'm realizing is that 25 chapters is nowhere near enough. I thought from the beginning that would probably be the realization that I would have at this point. But I also think that if I put on another 10 chapters, that's probably not enough. So I think I need to prepare myself for the fact that this installment is probably going to be 100,000 words, not just 50,000, which would make it the longest volume in that series so far. I don't think I want to have it sort of as a duology in that series. I think I want to have it as a standalone. Um, but that's where we're at. I might not divide the parts this cleanly as in other books, where like book one really is the first notebook and then book two is the other one. I might divide it up, how it makes a bit more sense. Um, but they're traveling, they're on the way, they have reached the mainland, so they have left the environment that Wish grew up in and feels safe in. So they're already on sort of uncertain ground, and new experiences are coming towards them, new families that they're meeting. Yeah, I'm going with them on the adventure, and it's fun. It can be aggravating, it can be heartbreaking, but this is what I live for. This first draft, figuring stuff out, getting into the nitty-gritty with yourself, where you lie in bed staring at the ceiling and you ideas are popping up, connecting, not connecting sometimes no, I'm not going to do that. Yes, I need something like this. I need some drama here. Sometimes it gets so far. I had like in the Slow Moon series in volume 2, I had an instance where I was really stuck and I jumped in the car, went to my favorite place to walk. It's a forest quite near here, and just not ran, no, I just walked very briskly one of the routes that I have walked 1,000 times or 100 times. So I didn't have to think about where I'm going. I just went. And by the end of that walk, I had a solution. And looking back now, it's weird that I didn't think about it before, but that happens all the time. Swimming is good as well for this sort of thing because you're actually not communicating with other people. You're sort of repetitive motion, and then your head is free to spin. Okay, this was the writing update. Got a bit distracted. I'm sorry. See you in a bit. It's Friday morning. I managed to write a fair bit over the last 2 days, like 2.5 pages each day. I'm now in chapter 24. I think I have a good sense of where it's going, which is fun because it's sort of I will come to the end of a section in the book and ooh, now I need to figure out again. So walking along. But yeah, we're nearing the end of the vanilla notebook. Look back, and I started it on the 1st of July. So about 2 months to fill 250 pages, which is not bad. And then I also resubmitted the files for volume 6 yesterday, so I found where I don't think that it's moved was a mistake on my part, but there was a thin blue line that I needed to remove, and so I resubmitted new files. I also made like one last tweak to the interior, and so now I'm waiting for the files to process so I can approve the next set of proofs and then order a replacement copy, see that everything's fine again. Which is one of the reasons why I always like to have quite a long window of time from finishing up the book and it being released, because there are things that can go wrong. And I think with volume 4, this window got quite tight and I was panicking a bit, but we're now back on my comfort schedule. So that's great news. I also did some more preparation for the market. I got all the information through that I need. So the next vlog will probably be basically the market weekend. So it's probably shorter, like way more yarn focused. So I did some plying yesterday, which is the blue greeny yarn and then plied with some grey, and I think it looks lovely. It's sort of a muted color, but you see the color changes very well. So yeah, so I have all those to weigh up and label today. I'm also going swimming today, even though the water temperatures, I think, have dropped off a cliff. So that's going to be interesting. I don't know if I can do like the big round that I did the last times I was there. Maybe I just need to do two smaller ones or something, just to have a bit of a breather in between if it's really cold. And apart from that, yeah, I still need to do a bit of cleaning in the cottage. I'm trying to sort out. I have lots of orchids in the bedroom, and they um, finished flowering for the most part. So I'm just like cleaning them and wiping down the leaves and everything. And it's just, I hate cleaning. There's always like I'd much rather work in corrections than cleaning, to be honest. I've also typed up a bit more of the science fiction story, which is great. So incremental steps, basically. And I think that's probably a really good place to leave off this vlog that started with a bit of a rant. Apologize for that. But ends on a much happier note. And by the way, I started a new book yesterday that made me much happier. So thank you so much for watching. Give me a subscribe, give me a thumbs up. It helps out immensely, as you know, and it doesn't cost you anything. If you would like to check out my writing, if you subscribe to my newsletter, you get a free ebook copy of the first volume of the Moon. Why not try it? Okay, thank you so much, and see you later.